Connected Components Workbench, Micro800 Controller Programming. Garage Door Exercise, Part 4. In this next part of the exercise for the garage door opener, we're going to add a timer, an on-delay timer, specifically to operate the overhead light. And of course the light really has nothing to do with the door. But we want to detect if anything regarding the door is disturbed and turn on the light and leave it on for 15 seconds. No matter what's disturbed. Button push, photo eye, blocked, unblocked, any change in anything to do with the garage door, we want that to trigger the light on for 15 seconds. In doing this project, because I'm a Power 5500 5000 user, meaning RS Logix 5500 5000, I'm always trying to do things with CCW the way I would do it with RS Logix. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I ran into some problems with the tag, the variable for the timer, in doing this next part of the project. I'm going to include all three instances of working with that timer so I can show you some of the things that you might run into. I thought about just eliminating all of the variations that didn't work and just put in the one that worked and leave it at that. The reason I'm telling you this before you watch this video is that I will run into problems with the tags where they show up in the variable databases in the first two attempts at doing this. So just don't grab onto your seat too tight, because at the end of this video I will show you the cleanest way to put the timer in. Continuing on with our little garage door project, this is how we left it before we went aside to look at timers and timer data types. The reason we did that is because we need to use a timer instruction and a timer data type to facilitate the function of the overhead light in the garage that's done on a time basis. So that's why we stepped aside to do that. The first thing I had you do in the manual, and we did discuss this before, originally we had just a little bit of logic here, and it controlled this instruction that controls that bit, both push buttons pressed. And then we added the photo eye safety when the motor's on its way down, and we added that to as part of the control for this bit, which we use right here to control any motion with the garage. And I told you at the time we could change it, but since we didn't change it in the manual, I did not change it then. Now I see in the manual, roughly on page 140, is I had you change that to safety interrupts. You don't want to create a new tag. You could, and then use the new tag down here. However, I would go to variable selector and change it right here. I can change it up here to safety interrupts. Okay. And now you see it's changed here, and then we'll try dragging that tag down there. You can't do that with Connected Components Workbench, at least not yet. Hopefully someday they'll change that so I can drag that text down to here. Instead, I'll just try double clicking on it. Let me go back and do that again. Single click with 500, 5000, and 5 you had to double click to get to this point. I could scroll up and down and find it. Instead, I'm going to type in S, and there it is right there. Hit enter. Now we're good. So that's the first thing I had you do. Now, just to refresh your memories, if someone pushes the up and the down push button simultaneously, that turns on that bit. I see one more place that we have to change it right there. Again, it'd be nice if I could just drag and drop it, but instead I'll single click S. Two tags begin with S, safety interrupts and stop push button. But SA comes before ST, so it popped up, hit enter, and it's done. If both push buttons are pressed, it turns on this bit. And if this bit is on and the stop push button is not pushed, then it seals it in. Or if the photo eye is tripped, when the motor is energized in the down direction, it turns on this bit, and again, this bit being on here, along with no stop button, keeps it sealed in. And that was really probably the most complex logic in the whole application. This rung down here, there's really not much to it. If you're not pushing the stop push button, and you have no safety interrupts, you're not all the way up and the motor's not being told to go down, then you can turn on the coil for output 0, the motor up. Same logic for the other half for motor down. So there really is not much to this. You might stare at it for a bit, but even if you had basic electrical training and saw these as relay symbols or even just contacts from switches, you would look at this electrical circuit and you would have a good idea of what it does. We did not change any of the logics, so there's no reason to download this and test it at this point, simply because we didn't make any changes to the logic. The next thing that I had you do was to add 2 rungs of logic. And I will point out this. If you put them in the order that I show them in the manual, you will see that in the first rung, the true if off, light on delay off, .q really doesn't exist. If you type that in, it may have left a little yellow triangle warning there showing that something wasn't right there. So I'm going to go ahead and do it exactly the way it is in the manual so we can see what happens. So I'm going to drag a rung down and I'm going to add a true if off. I single click on it and I have it. Just for grins, I'm going to single click on that and move this over inside. Now there's another way that we could have done it, so I'm going to back up and drag it down, and if I drop it here, it's going to look the same as it did by clicking on it. If I bring it down and drop it here, it goes around the true if off. Putting it after the true if off and then dragging the true if off inside, or just dropping it where it encompasses the true if off, you're still going to end up with the same results. But it's just nice to know you got an option. I'm going to put the focus here, and a single click there puts in a true if on. If I have the focus here and I click here, that isn't what I want. So I'm going to click on this and delete it. Instead, I'm going to click here and insert branch below. Let me eliminate that. Actually, this is a slight improvement over RS Logix, because with RS Logix, it would allow you to add a branch that goes around an instruction that is not extended down. Even though logically it's extended down, it would allow you to put it in there so you had a next branch and a branch start instead of just a next branch. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches. Insert branch below. Now I could also do, at this point, insert branch above, and it looks the same whether I put it below or above. The below and above only matters if you've already got something in there and you want to add something new and you want it definitely above or definitely below. Put my focus here, true if on. I had to click on it twice. Not sure why. Focus here, true if off. It went in with one click. Put the focus there at the head of this branch and true if on. Then here I need a true if off. Now see, I clicked there, but it went in before instead of after. I'm going to undo that. I can't click over here. No matter where I click over here, I can't just click up there. I'm going to have to drag it down. Of course, it wants a name. I'm going to cancel because I would rather type in the name here, even though we know this doesn't exist. So I'm just going to do this for fun. Light on underscore delay off. Dot Q. Now you see this looks correct, but notice this symbol right here. That means that if you mouse over it says referring to undefined variable, because we didn't create the timer data type yet. There's a variety of ways you could put these in. The easiest way is just to go IN00, enter. IN01. Okay, now I use the cursor key on the keyboard to go down to this instruction. I'm experimenting. So now I'll type in IN, okay, it won't take it. I'm going to have to definitely select the tag field and then put in IN02. If I put in 0, whoops, or if I just put in I get in, and there's my 02 right there. So I could select it. I, double click, and the last one is out2, OU, and then of course we need, if I put the focus here and then go up here and select an OT here, I can just type in OU, I know it's 2, double click, and there it is. The only problem that we have here is this tag right here, it's undefined. So let's scroll down and put in another empty rung, and in this empty rung we're going to put true if on, true if on, true if off, and a true if on. Delete that. Out 02, N00, N01, N02, and N03. Now I need a timer instruction, a TON. The focus is on this instruction, so I'll click on TON and it put it in the right place. We wanted to create a tag here of T for time, pound, 15,000 milliseconds. 15,000 milliseconds, that's 15 seconds. You can make it shorter than that just so you don't have to wait so long to see things happen. And that should do it. So now we're going to download. First we'll save. It's done saving. Now I'm going to download. I didn't plan this, but this is good. I downloaded and I got a download error. Look what it says. Light on, delay off, .q, undeclared identifier. I did not complete that part of it. So go back to the program. See, I left it TO1_1. So this is an instance of a timer data type, TO1_1, but it doesn't match that, light on, delay off. I'm going to have to go into the instance and rename it light. Notice when I did that, it kind of messed this up. So we'll go to variable selector, say OK. All that I did was went to variable selector and clicked on OK. And of course this one up here doesn't look right now. And I don't know if it's because I gave it a different name, light, uppercase ON _ delay, uppercase, looks identical. But what I'm going to do is go to variable selector and go to I would have expected just for fun, I went back to scratch. In other words, I went back to exactly the way the project looked before we were working with the timers, and I'm going to do it in a different order to see if I run into the same problems. In the previous attempt, I created a new rung and I put in the conditions to turn on the light before I added the timer. So I'm going to add the timer rung first. The focus is right here on rung 3. True if on, true if on, true if off, true if off, true if on, and then a timer, TON. I'm going to go to the instruction block selector. Now if I go to properties, that's the visual properties. This is Visual Studio. My only method to edit is to show instruction block selector. And I'm going to name it light on underscore delay off. Exactly the way I did before. Go in and create the time tag, T pound. When I go to local variables, I see it now. I didn't before. See, and I can actually expand it. I could, after a bunch of gyrations and machinations, I could see it. But initially, it would not show up in the sequence variables. And I'm going to finish up these. We had N02. Okay, now that rung is complete. Now I'm going to drag down and put a rung above that. It could be below it, but this is the way we did it in the manual. And I'm going to go back to favorites, and the focus is on the head of the rung, so I'm going to click on a true if off. Then I'm going to drag down a branch around just to get it in the right position. Then I'm going to true if on, true if on, true if on. Then here's where we ran into the problem. I need a true if off here, and see it comes up variable selector for sequence, and I don't see the timer in there. Global variables, it's not in there. System, it wouldn't be. IO, it wouldn't be. Define words, it wouldn't be. So the local variables, it should show up here, and it doesn't. Okay, this is our third go at adding the timer to the garage door opener project. The first two times I had problems, and I'm still seeing problems. I'm going to try it one more way, at least one more, to see if it's any cleaner. I do think there's a bug in the program. I mean, in Connected Components Workbench. It's relatively new software. I'm going to start over back where we left the project at the end of our previous discussion with just these two rungs. Instead of putting in logic first, I'm going to go to local variables, and I'm going to create a tag, and I'm going to call it light on underscore delay off. And I'm going to define it as a, TON. I'm going to create it as a TON data type, which is kind of what we did before. And I'm going to hit enter. Okay, now I see the tag there, and I see all the elements of that tag. The N, the preset time, they call it program time. Q, which is the done bit. ET, elapsed time, or accumulate, because timers accumulate counts of units of time. The other two we don't care about. So now I know that that tag is in there. I created it first. Now I'm going to go to sequence, and because it's already in there, I don't think I'll have any trouble at all. So I'm going to do it exactly the order that it was done in the book, and notice that it doesn't come up with a local variable with the timer in there. So I'm going to cancel that, and I'm going to put in a direct coil or energized output if you like. I'm going to cancel that. Now I'm going to go down and create the second new rung, and there I need true if off, and I need a TON, and I'm going to change that to light. There it is. See, it pops up. Now I'm going to go up here and see if I can find it. There it is right there. Now see, it shows you the entire tag as a name. If I pick on it, put my cursor right there and hit decimal point, now it pops up with the elements. So I'm going to put in the Q, and I believe we won't have any trouble. I do need to finish filling in all of these, and down here, basically, and that should do it. And you see no yellow triangles, no warnings. I do need my program time or preset time, which is T #, and I'm going to download, and I'll pause while it downloads. Okay, downloaded and in the run mode. We don't need to discuss any of the logic up here. That was all functioning perfectly fine. The only thing that we did was add the light function. And the whole idea with the light function, in my esteem, was that if anything was disturbed, whether it's a push button or a photo eye, anything was disturbed, the light comes on and it stays on for 15 seconds. That was the goal. We look now and we see that the light's not on. We see all of the conditions to turn the light on are false. But if we push the stop push button, the up, the down, if somebody trips the photo eye, then any of these 4 conditions are going to turn on the light, and then the light is going to seal itself in until this timer times out. It doesn't matter which one of those that I do. I'm going to, and this is just the light now. We're not controlling the garage door, just the light. I'm going to do the stop push button. It doesn't matter. Just a momentary, light comes on, seals in, and now you see that output 2 down here is on, and when this times out, when it hits 15 seconds, then this bit will go on, reset this, and goes right back off. That's simple. That's all there is to it. Now, what was different in this instance, because we tried putting the timer in 3 different ways. For right now, my recommendation is that you create the timer instance of the TON in the variable file that you want. We went to local variables and we created it right here. We created the tag, the instance of the data type, before we actually tried to put in any logic. That way we knew the tag was definitely there. What was really curious is when let's go to variable monitoring and see if it shows up. Oh, good, it does. When we did this, now you can mouse over and it shows you some information. As simple as that. One more thing, and there is always going to be one more thing. I'm going to disturb one of those 4 conditions. This time I'll do the down push button. Just a momentary little bump and the light's on. Now notice that it's accumulating 4 seconds, 5 seconds. If I disturb another item, it starts over again. So if I keep hitting one of these 4 conditions, it's just going to keep resetting that timer, and it'll keep the light illuminated for 15 seconds after the last disturbance of the control system. That's another important logical feature. And that's about all I can think of.